Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another version of Bill Rhoden On Sports here at beautiful MetLife Stadium. And where the hell is this? In
East Rutherford.
East Rutherford. East Hell Rutherford. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, that's
rough.
That's
Let's be up. We're here in MetLife Stadium, and I'm Bill Rhoden On Sports here with my friend and co-host, the great Jamal Murphy.
Great to be here. Saw a pretty good game today. The Giants go to 2-0, 16-13 victory over the Saints.
Yeah,
so successful opening for the Giants and Giant fans.
Yeah, and of course we're joined. One of the things we pride ourselves on, Bill Rhoden On Sports, is that we introduce you to people you already know, but people that you should know. And our guest today is somebody you should know and you will know, Justin Walters. Justin Walters, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, I twisted your arm. You probably know.
It was a good twist.
But Justin is a sports anchor and reporter for FiOS1 News, and also a WRNN TV. And tell us a little bit. You're from New York. What did you say? You're from
Money earning Mount Vernon.
I never heard that before. You're from money earning Mount Vernon. Why money earning Mount Vernon?
Because the Heavy D was a popular song, and a lot of people give Mount Vernon flack just because it's adjacent to the Bronx. Or anytime when you're from New York and you don't mention a borough, people are like, oh, is that upstate? Incorrect.
Right.
So you got to add a little pop to it. So that's our little style. But yeah, Mount Vernon, feel good to be home. I was living down south for a few years and working
Whereabouts? Where?
Jackson, Tennessee. So that's the
wow.
midpoint.
Oh, real south.
Wow.
Yeah,
Real
real
south.
south. So not the Jackson that Bruno Mars talks about, the other Jackson, Tennessee. So it's adjacent to Nashville and Memphis. 2.5 years out there, took a leap of faith, and now I'm back in New York, and it's a blessing to say the least. Been here for about 6 months, covering local, regional, and national sports, and Jets and Giants. It's exciting. Football's back.
Nice.
Back.
Yeah, we're all. I don't know what that says, that we're all like really excited about this brutal sport of football. 'Cause remember, I mean, the first the first couple series of plays, we had an injury, right? We had a
scary one, concussion.
Is it concussion? Is that what they said?
That's what they ruled it for, and because he got hit in the back of the head, which is a real sensitive part of the head, so they ruled it as a concussion, and he didn't return.
I guess not. I mean, he was out for about 15, 20 minutes?
It felt like it, yeah. And then, as this is what happens with football in the NFL, the crowd gets silent for about 10, 15 minutes. People are kneeling and praying, and then next play, we're right back at it.
Right back at it. Prisoner of the moment. It's like, oh, okay. All right, let's go. Touchdown.
It's almost like it didn't happen.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah, but why? I mean, we talked about this. We always talk about this every single week. But yet, do you like the game? You like football?
I love the game. There's nothing like it.
No, you're right about that.
Of course, the only reason out of the 4 major sports, every week matters in this. You feel like you must watch this week of sports. NBA, you can miss a game. Of course, major leagues, you can do the same. And hockey, unless it's more of a regional sport, unless you love it or grew up watching it, you can do that as well. But overall, football is just one of those things. You get it on Thursday, you get it on Sunday and Monday. You must watch your team play.
You're right.
But I mean, yes, that's the. But I mean, did you grow up playing football? I mean, I'm talking about the morality of it. That why, you kind of have to justify this. Why, this is clearly a 100% injury game. Mostly brothers.
Yes.
Getting thrown to the lions. I mean, I love the game too.
And you played?
I played. I didn't play like that though. Thank God. But did you play? Where did you go to high school?
I went to school at Iona. I went to school in Iona Prep, so that is in New Rochelle.
Oh, so you didn't even go to money earning Mount Vernon?
No, I didn't. My parents weren't going to allow me to go there. They wanted me to go to get a better education. But overall, Iona Prep was nice, but I did not play football in high school. I stopped right before high school. Basketball has always been my sport. That's my first love before broadcasting.
Oh, really? Did you play at Iona?
Yes, I did. We ended up losing in a state championship my senior year. Crushing loss. Crushing. Still remember it.
Some things you never forget, right?
Yeah,
those
never.
Crushing loss. What is it, like a 1-point loss? What? Or there was a blowout?
Yeah, it wasn't a blowout. It was just unfortunate. This kid that played D1, we held him to, I don't even want to say his name because bad memories are coming to my mind now.
For the sake of our audience.
No publicity. Nah, don't give him any publicity.
No, was it Kobe Bryant? I mean, who was it?
No, it wasn't. No, a kid by the name of Chaz Williams. He played at his school.
You met Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
You know
Yep.
Chaz?
You know
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Real small kid, about like 5'5".
Right.
If that. We held him to 4 points in the first half, and then he exploded and ended with 23 in the second half, and they won. We'd also beat them in the regular season, but it was crushing, man. And we played at Iona College's court. Woo! One of those tough losses that you never forget. And that's how I ended my senior year. And then instead of playing sports, talk about them now.
That's
There you
great.
go.
Where'd you go?
LaSalle University,
Oh,
Philadelphia.
LaSalle, okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Good. So listen. So let's get right into it. I mean, you've seen, since you're covering local sports, you cover Jets, Giants. You were here with us here at MetLife. The Giants look pretty good. What do you think about when you look at the Giants, look at the Jets? Which fan base has the greatest source of hope?
The greatest source of hope, I would want to say, is going to be the Giants.
Wow.
Just based off of how much they spent in the offseason. They have the better record only by 1, but we're already saying it was a must-win for the Jets on that Thursday night game against the Bills and Rex Ryan. But I think that the Giants, with the weapons that they possess, probably have a little bit more hope. Both teams, I think, still have a strong possibility of making the playoffs, but the Giants, even though they haven't made the postseason, what has it been, the past 4 years they've been out?
It's been that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been out for a while. The Jets were 1 game away, but I would want to say that the Giants are the better team so far this season, what I've seen.
It's funny you mentioned money. Well, during the post game, Jamal and I went down to the respective locker rooms, and so we had some interesting conversations about the difference between this year and last year. Jamal,
Yeah,
right?
we heard from JPP, and basically that was the theme in the locker room, that this is a new season, totally different players, so in turn it's a new vibe, and the Giants feel completely different about this year. And JPP had something to say about that.
Jason, how much different is the vibe in this room?
The vibe is totally different. You know, it's new guys, new players. We know what it takes. You know, it's not an individual, goal. You know what I mean? Everybody got one goal, and that's just to, play one game at a time and continue doing good. And the mistakes that we made, we're going to get them corrected. And come next week, we got Washington.
Did your shoulder come through okay?
Yeah, I know it was hurting, but hey, it is what it is, man. I done been through worse, so I'm not even tripping.
You weren't close to not playing, were you?
Huh?
Were you close to not playing?
What do you think? I was out there, right? I done been through worse, man, so I'm all right.
Yeah, then I Eli Manning came to the podium, and I asked, after he talked about, last year they would have lost these types of games, these kind of close games, and so I asked him, well, what's the difference between last year when you lost these kind of games and this year when you won those kind of games? This is what he said.
It's probably that $200 million we spent, I think, right? I think that might have something to do with it right there. But I think, I think the confidence, having last week, guys step up, defense getting a huge stop right there at the end of the game. That's big. That's big for the offense. That's big for the defense, just playing fast. And now they're thinking, they're not worried about, hey, don't lose a game.
He mentioned everybody laughed when he mentioned $200 million is the difference. Where Justin, where did they spend the money? What was he talking to? That was $200 million. Where did it go?
One of them made a really big play in the home opener, and that was the only touchdown for the Giants. Janoris Jenkins on that blocked field goal, and that was for the cornerback. You have Olivia Vernon, then you have Snacks on the defensive line who came over from the Jets.
Snacks, I love that.
Yeah,
that's a great name.
that's a great name.
a great
Doesn't get any
name.
better than that.
For a lineman?
For a lineman, Snacks.
And
He
you
eats
can't
all
get-
day.
Right. It doesn't take a lot of imagination why they call him Snacks.
Right.
Right. We were talking about you being from Mount Vernon. What teams did you, when you grew up, what teams were you addicted to?
I have a weird sports affinity. The only New York team that I like is the Yankees.
Really, that is weird.
Out of all the NFL teams that I enjoy, this is really a kick and people get crazy and freaked out about it. It's the Eagles.
I grew up an Eagles fan, too.
All right.
I don't know why, and I'm from Brooklyn.
All right, fair enough. Well, my connection towards it is my dad is from Syracuse, Donovan McNabb,
Right.
first pick, boom. So it's a long
okay.
story, but not really.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the connection there. I'm actually a Heat fan when it comes to basketball.
Oh, man.
The reason why is that during the Knicks and Heat rivalry, everyone knows they had those blood brawls.
Yeah,
Right.
I voted for the Heat, or was rooting for the Heat when my dad rooted for the Knicks. Tim Hardaway, Eddie Jones, Alonzo Mourning. Tim Hardaway still top 5 crossovers of all time.
You were rooting against the Ewing
Yeah,
Starks
man, I
Knicks?
know, right? Hey man, you should have
In
told
New York.
You and shit in the finger roll.
No,
you
he's
should have
a-
dunked it.
That's
I'm
true.
sorry, but I had to bring it up.
Oh man, that hurts.
Yeah,
That hurts.
that's true. That even now they talk about the finger roll. Really?
Yeah, Fat Joe brought it up recently.
Yeah, finger. Yep, he did all the way
It's
up.
not right, man.
No, he's lucky. Patrick's lucky. That's not his nickname. Patrick Finger Roll Ewing.
Well, Charles Smith, he's the
Oh,
one
that's
who caught the brunt of
That's
everything.
another one.
Yeah.
That's another one. But at least you could forgive. I mean, it was Michael Jordan.
Right.
I mean, Michael Jordan broke a lot of hearts. I mean, that whole
Right.
era. There are a lot of people, Barkley, who did not win because of Jordan.
Right.
So
So one thing that was funny is that you asked me about my sports affinity, and one thing I just don't have, and I wasn't going to fake the funk when I moved down south, was a college football team. And moving and living down south, you already know that's essentially a religion.
Right.
It's like
Right.
God, and then for Tennessee, it's Butch Jones, who's the head coach of the Volunteers. So that was just very interesting to find out, I guess, the sports dynamic based off of regionally where you live on what your sports affinity is and what some people do. People's Sundays for us, that's their Saturday. They can go without the NFL.
Wow.
They must
That's
watch
interesting.
college football on Saturday, and Sunday they can relax.
Did you become a college football fan while you were down
Oh,
there?
absolutely. I loved it. I wasn't going to just bring on or adopt a team, but going to Neyland Stadium, which is the UT Vol Stadium, amazing. They played in Missouri, and it was an ESPN game, huge. SEC
Right.
country.
Right. And SEC is basically NFL.
Yep.
yeah, no, it is. Well, Alabama certainly is. Maybe
Don't sleep with
LSU.
LSU, Ole Miss,
Oh, yeah.
Mississippi
Yeah,
State.
about 3-4. Actually, where is the kid from Dallas? Where do you go? The quarterback for Dallas, Zach.
Dak Prescott,
Texas
Mississippi
A&M.
State.
Oh, Mississippi State.
Mississippi
Yeah,
State.
and hey, the newest kid on the Giants, LSU, Sterling Shepard.
Right.
And of course, Odell Beckham as well.
LSU, right?
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
having that conversation before. I forget with whom. Actually, I was having this conversation with D. McKay, who's the executive editor of the New York Times, my old paper. But he was wondering, why Alabama turns out all these great college teams, but particularly running backs, but they never do well. Those running backs never do well in the NFL. I mean, they don't do nearly as well
No.
in the NFL. And he was wondering, why do you think that where LSU, on the other hand, turns out just tons of pros? I mean, their kids are just great kids. The only bust I could really bust was
Jamarcus?
Jamarcus.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge bust.
That's a
He may
that's the
take
bust
over.
of bust.
But
Sorry, Jamarcus.
Ain't no sorry. You should have lost some weight.
he didn't care. He ain't listening to this podcast. Maybe we'll have one of the guests if we can find out where he is. But why? I mean, just why do you think that is? I mean, why? Why? I mean, we just looking at the last kid who the Heisman Trophy winner. My theory,
Derrick Henry.
my theory was that Nick Saban particularly chews those kids up. I mean, the
mileage. I know.
Right.
That's
they
something
got
that's been
they got a lot of mileage in those tires.
I don't know what it is, honestly. That's the only credibility or evidence that we have to pinpoint why these kids haven't been able to produce the way that they're able to on the college gridiron. But also, I think we should just look at, there's a lot of busts. The NFL isn't for everyone.
Right.
There's a lot of kids. You can go Tim Tebow. You could go down the list of people. The NFL is just not for everyone. Some people have great college careers, and the NFL career could be mediocre, but we have so much hype for them, but their game isn't made for it. The kid, Michael Sam, he's the co-defensive player of the year in the best conference in the country,
Right.
SEC, and he can't even get drafted in the first 6 rounds.
Now, do you think any of that was because he was gay? He came out as gay? Do you think he just
You
couldn't
can play. It's all politics. It was definitely played in its part. But overall, whether it be Michael Sam, Tim Tebow, some of those kids, people want to call Tebow the best college football player ever. But in the NFL,
Some hype in that.
No,
I
there's
never-
a, there's,
I never-
there's a
I
lot.
never
The only
believed
reason, but the thing that you have to play in a part is that he played 4 years. For example, I would say that Cam Newton was a better college football player
No
than
question,
Tim Tebow
no question.
in my eyes, especially after going to Auburn, then a JUCO, and doing his thing out there.
Right.
But Tebow played all 4 years, which was different.
And won. And,
Yes,
you got to give
and
him
won.
credit.
He did
Urban
win.
Meyer, dynasty.
Right.
Right. It's interesting. We talked about the game today, and you weighed in about the Giants and all that. I was looking at it because everybody's been talking about the protest. The national anthem is clearly the thing that Colin Kaepernick started is still not over. And I was looking at the national anthem today, and I saw I didn't see a New Orleans player nor a Giants player protesting. In fact, I must admit it, I stood up because I mean it's a funny thing. I mean, normally when I'm in the press room in front of everybody and I feel pissed off that particular Saturday, what I would do is come back here in the lounge area or go somewhere, just disappear and then go back. If today, I'm thinking like the people in the crowd, the
eyes on you.
The cafeteria's crowd. I get my big gold Hall of Fame jacket. That people reminded me.
Right.
And I'm like thinking, all right, now is this the time to kind of like just sit down and
Right.
and not that anybody's going to do anything.
Right.
But
To you, for sure.
Yeah, well, maybe.
If it was me, I'm a, they don't know who I am.
What are they going to do? They're going to kick you out. They're going to kick you out.
They highlight my name, like no credentials,
No more
next week.
Sorry, sir.
Never know.
You can no longer come to this food cafeteria.
Right.
But it's funny that you say that because you feel like eyes are on you, but that's really what it is now for these players because every time the national anthem is being played now, the TV cameras are scanning both sidelines. So if you're trying to take that stand, everybody's going to know right away.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's just funny, just this little thing here, and I'm in the parking lot. As me, you, and our executive field producer Raisa Kelly, as we are driving into the game, and I'm like looking at predominantly white fans. I mean, almost overwhelmingly white fans, and I'm like, thinking, man, I don't know, and it's a stereotype that. I don't know how many black friends these people have. And you feel the pressure. If you're a player, sometimes the pressure of like doing that. In fact, Justin, you were telling us about a piece of news from Miami, right?
Yeah, for the latest update, as you mentioned, no real players to stand up to raise their fists, kneel down, or actually take a seat during the national anthem. But in Miami for the Dolphins, who had 4 players, including Arian Foster last week, now the police union and sheriff's office is mentioning that they will no longer provide escorts until the team forces players to stand for the anthem. So that's the latest, and there you go.
I'm trying to figure out what's the correlation. Like, what are you talking about? It's not like there was a police department speech and you didn't show up or you turned your back on the police. We're talking about not something that really doesn't have anything to do.
The military. I mean, nothing. I mean, I'm as we're listening to today. I'm like listening to the national anthem, and it is about war. I mean, the bombs bursting in air, and then you get to the land of the free, home of the brave, and really, are we really the land? But they've turned this into this military thing that if you don't stand, kind of like it's like America, love it or leave it. I mean, it's this whole. But I think that's part of the anthem. The problem with the anthem, anyway, is that you've got a lot of people listening to it, and all kinds of different thoughts are going into everybody's mind.
And they're not
It means something to everyone.
And
it means something different.
I'm sure you like down in Jackson, Tennessee. I'm sure you got an earful.
And it's like you're right. It means something to a lot of different people, but for some reason, it's not. So whatever some people may think of it is not respected. Because we're not gonna escort you. We're not gonna protect you because you may have a particular view on an issue that may or may not have anything to do with the Miami PD.
Right. Well, yeah, and now I'm very interested. See, you're gonna start backing football players into a corner, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what the organization does. Because I think, Jamal, you made an interesting point. Because I guess when Kaepernick does it, number one, it caught people by surprise, and it was out west.
It was a publicity stunt, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just to get traded because he didn't win the starting job.
Yeah, well, that kind of came through my mind a little bit, too, that he just wanted out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, are you kidding me? Do you know who our starting quarterback is? We're not trading you.
Did he play today? I know they got blown out by Carolina. I wonder if he got any playing time.
No, I don't believe that he actually did play, but they did take the L.
Right.
Yeah, well, if they got blown out, take one more of those.
Right.
One more of those, and you're going to see Colin Kaepernick, and then it's going to be interesting. But getting back to Miami, though, so now is the organization, what's the organization going to do? Are they going to force them to play? Are you going to tell these guys, boy, you gotta stand up. You gotta, it's going to be very interesting what they do.
It is going to be interesting. I know the organization originally came out and fully supported that the players have the right to exercise what they believe is right or wrong, and protest isn't meant for your convenience or comfort. We already do know that. And then these absurd comments where people are quoting Martin Luther King, Dabo Swinney from Clemson. If you're going to quote them right, and then understand the context. It's like saying a random biblical verse and then this is what God meant. Wrong.
Right.
And
Where people do that.
People do that all the time.
Dabo Swinney does that too.
Bedside Baptist.
Yeah. I've asked Swinney. Some people, but it's so,
And it's also posturing on the Miami PD's part because they most likely are going to do their job and escort. It's almost like Beyonce. Remember when she did Formation?
Oh my gosh!
And the New York police said the same thing. We're not gonna do security for your concert when you come here. But that when her concert came here, they paid for security and she got security.
There's just one person you'll mess with is the Beehive.
right. Exactly.
That's right. That you'll be out there and you'll like it.
No question.
Yeah. So that's I think that's ongoing. I mean, that's going to be a very ongoing story. But I thought it was interesting that none of the Giants players. Although I asked Carl Banks about this, and again he said, this what people do, but what people feel is completely different. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of players who have some very strong feelings about it. But I mean, realistically, particularly if you're black in this country, that we survive. And there's some people that there's a time to protest, there's a time to raise the fist, there's a time to escape, there's a time to revolt. Then there's a time to just kind of say, hey man, this ain't the time to do either one.
Right.
We got to lay back because we survive. I mean, we are survivors, and survival entails a lot of different strategies, and then sometimes remember, I mean, from the very beginning, there's certain people remember the spiritual, before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Well, there's some people who took that shit literally. They either jumped off the boat in the middle passage, or they walked went to the dismal swamp and drowned themselves. And then there are others who said, we're gonna burn down the master's house, we're gonna poison the family. There are others who chose to be the Uncle Toms, and Uncle Tom literally would say, well, my job is just to, I'll do what I can from the inside to help. But I mean, so, and I think as I've gotten older, you kind of have to respect our different ways of surviving. I just don't tolerate people outright sell us out. And who those people are. The people you'll probably see on the Trump campaign.
Right.
So that's the problem.
That's just too much.
That's the problem. Put those brothers on the bulletin board or in the post office posters.
That's unpatriotic.
That's right. I was thinking before I saw Kathleen Battle in California last week, the great soprano. And I hope she's a proud. You stick to football, but she ended the performance with "Lift Every Voice," And as I was thinking this, I was thinking, well, maybe that's what they should play. Since we have this issue about the national anthem. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We did it at Morgan, my alma mater. We played "Lift Every Voice" first, then we play the national anthem. So maybe before the football games, we should play "Lift Every Voice," then play the national anthem, and then when certain people start getting all antsy about Lift Every Voice, well, now you'll know how we feel when we play the national anthem.
Right. And there's positivity that comes out of what Kaepernick did with his stance. How many of us would have actually looked up the original lyrics of the national anthem and found out that Francis Scott Key was an actual slave owner, that when he talked about the land of the free, home of the brave, that's not meant for us.
Right.
The lyrics were remixed. They did a Bad Boy P. Diddy to it. Be like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sugarcoat this and make y'all feel like y'all are earned. No. It was actually completely against us. So there's positivity. It makes you do your history and do your homework. So I have no problem with what he did. And some people that are uncomfortable with it, it's fine. If you're offended that your feelings are hurt, I'm offended. Because it's okay.
Right.
It's okay for people to disagree. It's cool. Stay in your lane.
Right, exactly. But then you go to this intolerance. And I guess that's part of the whole problem with we're supposed to be this land of the free. As long as you don't touch the third rail. Which is racism. Well, you don't, or talk about it in a way that's uncomfortable for me. Even sometimes, a lot of our liberal friends, we could talk about it, but don't indict me. I'm not really, because I'm down with you guys, so I'm on the good side. So listen, racism is a disease, and everybody's infected by this disease. It's like sexism. I say, okay, I'm a recovering sexist. I mean, if you're really honest, you can't say, well, I have sisters and brothers. If you're a guy, a lot of times you think about, and you evolve. You
Right.
you evolve, and you evolve. But first, you've got to admit, I'm evolving. I think the problem with racism is people they don't even want to admit that I'm a racist, but I'm an evolving racist. You know, we talked about that before. People say, "Oh, let's talk about race." I don't want to talk about race. I want to talk about racism. Race isn't a problem. Race isn't a problem. And anyway, that's
true. I mean, the word itself has become some horrible word that you can't call anybody.
Right.
And it's really the racists who hate it. The word the most. It's crazy. I don't understand.
And you're right. It's a harsh word, but shit. Ask each of our ancestors. The reality is harsher than the word about what that actually means. And the word is just the word. But what about the action? I remember I was in a museum. They have this. I forget what the name of the museum of slavery or history. But there was a room that you go into, and it had this story, a narrative of this enslaved woman, who she had pissed off her owner, her mistress, and as punishment, she was selling her 2 kids, and this whole part was about her mother preparing her. This was going to be their last day together. She was combing her hair and all that to send her away. This was a little daughter, and I'm listening to this, and this was a number of years ago, but I almost felt like crying because you think about this was just that particular instance. But if you think about what it was like there, not just, we talk about, well, in 18 something this happened, but then in 1910, but think about what it was like to spend 24 hours as an enslaved family, where anything could happen at any particular moment. It could be your wife. It could be your children. You could look at somebody the wrong way. They could kill, and you had no recourse. I mean, you had there's nothing you can do. And I'm thinking to go from there to where we are today, still talking about the same stuff, the same struggle. And if you don't understand that, if you don't, white people, well, why do you have a chip on your shoulder? It's a wonder why more of us aren't like kneeling or raising our fist or going nuts and stuff.
So I have a question, since we mentioned earlier about the San Francisco and Carolina Panthers game, and Cam Newton on the other side recently said in a GQ article that he believes racism is, unquote, over. I know my personal beliefs. I was a little bit upset because I expected more from Cam. What were your thoughts, Bill and Jamal?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed.
Being delusional.
Yeah, I was disappointed, but it goes back to what we were talking about before. I mean, all these protests and taking stands, it is a personal decision of when and where you want to do it. Cam knows as well as anybody that there's racism in the media, among fans. I mean, he dealt with it last year. He had his father talking about the issues last year. So to me, it was just, he didn't want to really deal with it at this point. He felt the pressure all last year, and he just wanted to say something to appease people. And that's one of the effects that racism has on people. It's a chilling effect too. You see people getting all this heat on them. You see the cameras scanning everybody to see their every move, and it creates a chilling effect, which is what it's supposed to do.
Remember who lost the endorsements?
Brandon Marshall,
Marshall.
his college teammate, Colin Kaepernick's college teammate.
Right. What did you think? I mean, you're in a different generation, certainly of me. I'm not sure what your relationship at age is to Jamal, but what do you think? Not just about the protests, but about racism in general. It's death, as Cam would say, that is dead. That we live in a sort of a racially neutral.
I would completely disagree. And I mentioned it to you before we started this about how one of my favorite books is $40 Million Slave. And I believe this is so apropos to this situation because we want athletes to speak until they say something that we don't want to hear.
Right.
And you have to understand who runs this game, and it's the suits. You're always going to be great, touchdown, MVP, et cetera, Super Bowl rings, but you can be an expendable as quickly as you rub someone the wrong way. The fact that when Colin Kaepernick came out, an executive anonymously told Bleacher Report that he's been the most hated person since Ray Caruth. Ray Caruth, the same person that put the hit out on his pregnant wife. His pregnant wife, seriously, and he's still denying it. I watched a follow-up recently on Brian Gumbel, and he's still denying it. And then the guy that killed her was saying, yeah, when you're the mafia, blah, blah, blah. But Ray Caruth Colin Kaepernick? Come on.
Right.
This is the same Colin Kaepernick who was a play away from winning a Super Bowl. Of course, shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't happen, but come on, less is more. It's no need to be over drastic with that, but you always have to understand that some people look at you in a different context, and that even though you may be friends, like I have a lot of white friends, but the new term with my generation is called staying woke. So no matter who you have as friends, you always have to be, I guess, mindful of you are in the same room with this individual, but what you have done has not gotten you in the same room. You may had to work harder,
Right.
but just because you're sitting next to him doesn't mean you're viewed in the same lens. And that's the whole term about staying woke. Just because you may be lollygagging around, understand that if you get pulled over and he gets pulled over, it's going to be two different scenarios. I've had white friends tell me, oh yeah, I bickered and moaned with this cop and gave him backlash. Us?
I'm flabbergasted. It's like they talk about talking back, and remember, I was re-listening to a show we did with remember when Brian Delendick was on the show.
Yes.
And I think we had this conversation. It was Gail King, and we had the conversation about the police and whatever. And he was talking about something, a little dialogue back and forth. I think you may have said it. I mean,
Right.
what? I mean, we don't even. Are you kidding me?
rebuttal?
A
What?
rebuttal? Yeah,
And you should watch Dave Chappelle
here
Killing Him
we go.
Softly.
Oh,
I mean, I
man.
actually watched part of that the other like a couple days ago, and he was so on point with that stuff. I mean, it's just it's two different worlds, and that's the thing. Like to me, you know, I mean, and just going back to what you were saying about comparing someone who protests to a murderer, to a convicted murderer of his baby's mother.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that just shows you what it.
But that's
what it
how they
is.
fit. And I guess in their minds, that is murder. It's killing
Right.
the American dream. It's killing all the shit that they believe in. It's killing the place that they have for us. This is supposed to be our place. And you're right. I mean, I love that term, by the way. I did not hear it.
Stay woke.
Stay
Stay
woke.
woke.
Yeah.
I like
It's a hashtag.
It's a
Get on it.
hashtag.
I
Stay
like that.
woke.
Yeah.
See, that's why we have. That's why young people on the to kind of keep me. I mean, what I love about that is two things. Is it's a cool term, but also, you know, because a lot of our kids. My daughter's 26, 25. She'll be 26, but I think that you can get it twisted because we send them to all these schools and we send them to the best this and best that, and some of them get it twisted. Like these kids are really my friends. I'm not saying they're not your friends, but I always find out in every conference there comes a point when, depending on what you talk about or something, there always comes a point that it kind of there's a divide. And you're good for if they're white friends and they're good, now they understand. They understand. They kind of work through it, and they say, you know. But I think there's this disillusionment.
No,
And-
it's a lot of neglection.
Yeah. But I like staying woke. That's really that's a great term. What else have we covered?
Well, I mean, getting back to football of all things.
Yeah.
We went off on a little
We went off
tangent, but
on-
it
No,
was
No,
a very
well, that
important
wasn't
tangent.
that was the real deal.
That's
The
the-
football is a
Right.
It's a
Hey,
Bill
tangent.
Rhoden On Sports is a tangent.
Yes.
It's a tangent podcast. But
Maybe that's what we should go. We call it.
but I mean, the Giants today, big win, 16-13 over the Saints. The Saints had just put up, a lot of points in Week 1. I kind of figured it would be
400 passing yards, I believe, by Drew Brees in Week 1.
right. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring situation.
Everyone did.
So you impressed with the Giants D?
$200 million? You better be impressed. Yeah, that's a big purse. It looking like last year they looked like $200. This year it was
Right.
$200 million. But no, I thought I was very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me that the Giants were going to win this game without entering the end zone from the offensive standpoint,
Right.
you got to be impressed with that.
Right.
The defense stood up and they did very well, even though people automatically had, I guess, the asterisks of the New Orleans Saints are a different team outside of the dome. And
Of
yes,
course, that's
we
true.
do understand it, but Drew Brees is still Drew Brees.
And it's
Drew
good.
Brees is going to do Drew Brees.
And it's nice weather. There's no excuse
Yeah,
for the
there was-
Saints.
no.
It's not December.
Except they're indoors. I mean,
Right.
they're outdoors.
I know
Yeah.
They are completely
It's
different team.
75 degrees outside. So I
Yeah.
mean, now I can see in December, the whole Peyton Manning thing. He couldn't produce in the cold weather. I mean, Breeze probably suffers from that a little bit, not as bad as Peyton. But on the offensive side for the Giants, the star today was an old name, Victor Cruz.
Oh, man. You got to be impressed with what Victor Cruz has been doing. Seriously, First week he sets up, or essentially he was the game-winning touchdown,
Right.
and he got his little salsa, his
Right,
patented
right,
dance,
right.
and then
Yeah,
this
that's
week
right.
he sets up the game-winning field goal, incredible catch. He was tightly draped,
Right.
and then he grabbed it in for a 30-yard plus catch. But no, you have to be impressed. It was a strong receiving core. Him,
Right,
Odell
right.
Beckham, and then Sterling Shepard, which we aforementioned from LSU, the rookie.
Right.
He was thrown to, I believe it was 8 times,
He's-
all 8 catches.
He looks good.
Where's he from?
LSU.
LSU.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was in the New Orleans locker room and talking to a couple of defensive backs, and they were referring to the Giants wide receiver core as a 3-headed monster. So they're getting that respect.
I
around the
remember
league.
when I covered the Giants preseason and their first practice that the media was allowed to cover, Victor Cruz said that this receiving core has a chance to be elite. And so far, we've seen some very impressive things.
And the guy who's probably been least productive is Odell Beckham so far. He's had a couple drops.
Yeah, man. He definitely could have had a touchdown today.
Right.
Easily. He did have a few drops, so he is human. But but next week, oh, man, I can't wait to see him reunited with his best cornerback or his friend who won't be invited to any barbecues anytime soon is Josh Norman.
That's next week, huh?
That's next week.
Wow.
That's right. Well,
Wow.
we got to be. That's going to be.
Is that in
fascinating.
D.C.?
No, it's
No,
going to be
it's
here.
It's here. Oh,
It's here, so we
I
gotta
guess
see.
we'll be here.
Yeah, we got to be here. Yeah, no, that's
All
gonna-
right,
that's
all
gonna be
right, good
tremendous.
stuff. So you think the Giants are looking better than the Jets? It's interesting because the Jets were
It's
supposed
not
to be
by a
one-
wide margin,
Right.
though. Just, I guess, so far what I've seen, I have more confidence about the Jets. I think that
about the Giants. You mean?
Sorry, pardon. Yes, about the Giants. Based off of their defense, I think the defense has been more impressive, and that's what I'm going to go with.
I hear you.
All right.
I hear you.
Look, one more bit of news. Good news for Talib, right?
Yeah, Keith Talib, he is not going to be facing any league discipline according to the NFL Network. He shot himself in the, or pardon, we're not sure how this wound took place in his
But
right leg.
there was a bullet.
There
in
was
his
a
right
bullet.
leg.
There was a bullet in his right leg. This took place in June at a Dallas bar. So he's good to go, and I think that he had.
He's good to go.
He's good to go.
He's good to go.
The Plaxico effect.
Our Cheddar Bob from 8 Mile.
No question.
Oh God! All right, that's good. Our guest has been Justin Walters, sports anchor reporter for FiOS1 News and also for WRNN TV. Check him out. You can check him out at Justin Walters TV. Great guy from New York, from Mount Vernon. What is that?
Money earning.
Money. I've learned too. I mean, maybe I've just been, in the the money earning Mount Vernon, and also
Stay woke.
Stay woke.
Stay woke.
I like that. It's very encouraging, man. That young people understand. Don't go for the okie doke. I mean,
Right,
just
that's
stay
what it is.
That's the best way
Stay
to term it.
focused.
That's what it
Stay
is.
focused, man. You shoot.
Never forget.
Never forget.
Right,
Never forget,
right.
brother. And I think, well, okay, we're signing off. But the more you know our history, and the more you really study our history, the more you realize that you can never go to sleep on this.
Right.
You can't sleep. The history is that it when you do go to sleep or trust when you're not, it never turns out well. It's never a happy ending.
Right.
Oh yes, we're just all together. No.
Right.
And don't let them be the
You
head
end up
of
you end up on stage with Trump, and that's not good.
Oh man,
Make America great again.
Make America great. Oh.
America.
Exactly.
Hey man, hey Justin, thank you so much, man. This is great meeting you. Well, we met before, right?
Yes, we met at the Knicks, the introductory press conference for Jeff Hornacek.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting as that thing unfolds.
We'll get to that
We'll
later.
get
Oh
to
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's just worry on football right now.
Right.
Oh Knicks. Oh
All
Knicks.
right. Hey Jamal, pleasure as usual.
Of course.
And Raisa, I don't know where Raisa Kelly went.
She disappeared.
She disappeared, but she's our executive producer, sound person. Extraordinaire, yeah, and does it all. So listen, everybody, thank you very much. It's been great, been real. Look, this is Bill Rhoden on Sports. Jamal Murphy. Our guest has been Justin Walters, and we will see you next week. God bless.